This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
It's going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Monday Night Raw review here on the WWE Podcast. As you can hear, my mic doesn't sound the same as normal. It hasn't most of the week as I am on vacation. I'll be returning later this week and back in my studio on Sunday. So Sunday night, I'll be back with the weekend review, back into our normal space and back to the normal recording quality. I have to say, though, for a MacBook Pro, not bad, right? I'm using internal mics on a laptop, and it still sounds like this, so I don't think it's too bad. But welcome to the show as we get ready for Bash in Berlin already next Saturday. So time is moving faster than ever, guys, as we are closing out August in just over a week, and then September, and boy, football season's here. For those of you that are interested, I know some of you, most of you actually, I know are interested. Either you have a fantasy league or you do DraftKings or whatever the case may be, or you're just a football fan and don't do any betting. It's still a fun time. It's always exciting because if you love fall, you love Halloween, you love pumpkin spice, you love all of that, then it is right around the corner, unbelievably. And we have a lot to discuss on this Monday night, including the announcement of my new podcast, which will be coming later in the show, so stay tuned for that. I did launch my first episode, got my artwork up, and it is not wrestling-based, and we'll talk more about that later in the show, as I'm going to use this platform to promote my other one. But we'll see if that angers some people and makes people stop listening to this one. If you completely disagree with my views on politics, then yeah, it's a dangerous topic, but I'm not going to talk about those things here, which is why I have my new show, and we'll get to that later in the show. But for those of you here to talk wrestling, well, you're in the right place, as we saw Monday Night Raw emanate from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and I think it was a good show overall. I don't think it was one that was, one that would be nominated for Raw of the Year or win any Emmys or Slammies, I should say. And I think it progressed things nicely for Bash in Berlin, not Bash at Berlin, but one and the same. And for me, the first thing that comes to mind, which I'm going to jump around a little bit, is the main event. So I'll talk about the main event first. Talk about the main event with Randy Orton and Ludwig Kaiser, with Gunther appearing at ringside. And this matchup here with Gunther and Orton is as good as you could hope that one would be. Now, I do prefer Randy Orton in a heel role. I think that his heel role is more entertaining than his babyface role because he's too jokey at times. And even in his 20-year career, he never feels as comfortable as a babyface as he does a heel. It doesn't feel genuine. It doesn't feel genuine for some reason. After all the experience, as great as Orton is, and he is great, a Hall of Famer, the babyface role just never suits him. Just kind of like Charlotte Flair when she returns. It just never feels right. So Orton is a babyface. It works, but his best work is being done and was done and has been done as a heel. And right now, he is clearly in the position to try to help promote Gunther to that next level. I don't think there's any real concern that Gunther is going to lose the belt here, as this is all about Gunther retaining, all about Orton, getting a title opportunity. But there's not a chance that, with John Cena on the cusp of making history in being the number one world title holder in his 17th world championship, likely, they're not going to put Orton in that same category, I don't think. I think when all is said and done for Randy Orton's career, whenever he decides to hang it up, I don't believe he will be in the category of John Cena. He'll be a couple short. I think he might get a 16th championship. I know he's trying to become a 15 time, so my quick thoughts on that. But the babyface role for Orton is fine. It's fine. It's just not as good as the heel, which does make you wonder when he's going to finally hit that RKO on Cody Rhodes. It's coming. It's coming. So, we got Orton come out, though, at the beginning of the show, and he didn't get to talk long. Randy Orton's never been really one to hold a long promo, but that's okay. He got to the point here. He did pander to the crowd a bit at the beginning of the show, and he did welcome us to Monday Night Raw. I don't get it. I don't understand why the stars need to do this. Randy Orton's got a world title match in 10 days or however many days. And he is concerned and he's being told to make sure that he welcomes us to Raw. I don't get it. I nitpick on this, but it happens all the time. Does anyone else not care that it just takes you out of the moment? Because no matter what's going on with whoever is announcing it, the priority is to make sure the very first thing you say is to welcome us to Raw. It's just one of those take me out of the moment types things. But moving on, I don't want to dwell on it too much. We did also have Randy Orton. Again, he played up to the crowd a little bit, and he said it was a perfect way to start the evening. And then Gunther came out, and he talked about making the match personal. And he told the fans to Gunther told the fans to shut up. The crowd was booing. Gunther said the only thing Randy Orton did last week was make things very personal. And then a USA chant broke out. And he told Orton that you're never going to be able to hit an RKO on me again. It would never happen again. And there's a lot of focus around the RKO. I don't know how, when Gunther says that this is now personal, what, I don't understand. What exactly made anything personal for either man? Why? Because Gunther mentioned his father and grandfather, I guess. But how did, okay, fine, you want to just mention them, that instantly turns things a little more personal. Okay, I could buy it. But then, with Orton hitting an RKO, how does that make it very personal? Isn't that actual just business? Anyway. It sounds like I'm getting a little annoyed by it. I'm not. I'm just doing what I do in my brain, and that's nitpick things that just don't make sense. I'm a guy that likes to make sense of things. So, which is tough in pro wrestling. Probably not the brain I should have. All right. So then we have an attack by Ludwig Kaiser, which led to the eventual match between Kaiser and Orton at the end of the show. So, all right. The next segment here is Sheamus and Pete Dunne. I actually didn't know that this match was happening. At least this week. I thought they were going to move it to a PLE. Bash in Berlin would have been a nice place for it. And maybe they still are, but their first encounter, I'm surprised they kind of rushed to it quick, and I've been enjoying the build. With Pete Dunne explaining to Jackie Redmond, I think it was last week, as to why he's angry at Sheamus. And maybe I totally missed that last week, that, next week these two will meet, which is very plausible and likely. But I still enjoyed the heck out of the match. Even after the match when Sheamus won, he won clean. You had Pete Dunne kind of smiling back at Sheamus, kind of indicating that this ain't over. And it probably isn't. I hope it's not. Sheamus and Pete Dunne, it's fun. They have history. A lot of history in the Brawling Brutes. When Pete Dunne was known as Butch. And now they have something to work off of. And I hope it's not just this one-off. I wouldn't imagine it is. Because they wouldn't have, I think, done a few-week program, blow it off on Raw, and then what are you doing for the PLE? I mean, who knows? But I hope it does continue. It just usually only ends when the babyface gets a clean victory. That's usually the sign that, okay, this thing's over. But we'll see. We'll see. The match itself, again, was very good. I enjoyed it, and Sheamus got the victory in about 11 minutes. Okay, backstage we got Odyssey Jones, who was standing with Kofi Kingston and Xavier. Kingston and Jones did a New Day yell while Woods didn't look thrilled. And once Jones left, Kingston asked Woods if he was okay. Woods said he wished Kingston would have talked to him before getting Jones involved, and added that he felt like Kingston wanted Jones to replace Big E. Kingston said he was sorry, and no one could ever replace Big E. And Kingston recalled how hard it was to get New Day off the ground and how everyone was laughing at them. Kingston said they are family and nothing will change that. He said Jones is in a similar spot and they thought they could make him or take him under their wing as veterans. And Woods said Kingston was right. Jones returned and Woods was kind to him, and then he looked a little taken back by Jones and gave him an aggressive hug. So this, when they're in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles gear, it's hard to take them seriously doing anything until they grow up in their gear. It's difficult. And is this leading to a Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods matchup, or a Kofi heel turn, or a Woods heel turn? Woods might be the one. I don't know. There is something's a brewing. It doesn't need to end in a match, though. I do think it will, and that's fine if they want to finally split the New Day. That ship sailed literally 6 years ago. But if they're going to do it now, there's a decade of footage that they could use to pull this program together and actually make people care. I think, despite my criticisms of it and my continued criticism of it, and I'm not backing down. Instead, I would double down on my criticism of Kofi, especially Kofi Kingston. But they could do an awesome job with all the footage that they could sift through, make an awesome program with Xavier Woods versus Kofi Kingston. If they really wanted to go that road, there's a long history of friendship there. They obviously have thousands of hours of footage that they could sift through if they have the time or resources or even the desire to go that road. They could. And I would probably even change my tune about seeing it with a video package. I think a video package, if this ever is done, could go a long way into making people like myself care about this program. And Odyssey Jones has been the proverbial straw that's stirring the drink in this whole thing. Okay. We have, what's next? As always, I don't go through every segment here. Ivy Nile versus Maxine Dupree. This ended in a no contest pretty quickly. Maxine Dupree didn't get a big reaction. Ivy Nile didn't get a very big reaction. But Gabe and the Creeds entered the ring and stood with Dupree. Uncle Howdy then showed up with Eric Rowan, Dexter Lumis, Joe Gacy, and they appeared on the apron. Cross roughed up Nile, and then the Wyatts took out the Creeds, and the Wyatt Six surrounded Gable, and then Howdy hit him with Sister Abigail and laughed. Bo Dallas laughed very, very similarly to his brother. It was eerily similar, and credit to him. But we still have the Wyatt Six targeting Gable, and that's fine, because it puts Gable in the spotlight, which is, I think, a good thing. I think Gable has shown that he can deliver in big spots. So I like that. There's no hocus pocus either, by the way. All the teleportation stuff that Wyatt did at times that was a little too much isn't really present here. This is a more grounded, based in reality Wyatt group, which is why I think it's going to be a much more long-standing group than others may have been. But, yeah. So, all right. Well, again, Ivy Nile, there was a no contest here, for those that care about the actual result. CM Punk was backstage. And we got, Ripley saying Dominic would soon realize that she and Priest protected him. This is a video package with Dom and Damian Priest, the Terror Twins, who have now being known as that, I guess, which is fine. And I don't have any particular inkling that they're going to form a group. You don't form a group if the name of the group is two people. So if they've already come up with a nickname for Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley, the Terror Twins, then it's very unlikely that they have anyone else brought in because, okay, you have, I don't know, Wrestler X and Wrestler Z come in, join Damian and join Rhea in an official, new version of the Judgment Day. Then you're still going to call them the Terror Twins? Doesn't work. So if they've already come up with a nickname and it's based on actually the number of people, it's probably not going to be any long-term alliances. They may find new friends, and they're going to have to find new friends, but they'll be temporary ones that aren't going to have to change the name of the group. All right. So Punk comes out with a leather strap around his neck. I originally thought, this got me excited as hell for a moment. I originally thought it was a scarf. And I got excited for about 3.5 seconds and realized quickly, oh, okay, it's not a scarf. So that got me excited. For those that don't know why that would get me excited, it's because if you watch AEW, who's the guy that wears a scarf? Of course, it is none other than Mr. MJF. So I thought for a moment there was a bit of a hint there, but I digress. So we got Punk congratulating the Florida Panthers for winning the Stanley Cup. And he shut the crowd down quickly. He's almost scolding them. The crowd put out a Panthers chant. And CM Punk's like, all right, quiet down before you get out of hand. It's like, okay, Dad. Why are you doing? I know that. Why? I don't know why. I mean, maybe he was like, okay, we're limited on time, or I don't know what it is. But he shut the crowd down quickly with the Panthers chant. He's like, yay, congratulations to the Panthers. You've got 2.5 seconds to cheer before I cut you off. That was weird. But he said legendary goalie Roberto Luangano, I don't know, I can't pronounce that, in the house, and it was good to see him. And Punk asked if the bags under his eyes were getting bigger. He said he didn't get a lot of sleep the night before. And Punk spoke of appearing at a fan fest over the weekend in New York. He said someone asked about the hot streak WWE's on, and if someone asked Punk why he's on such a hot streak. Punk said the fans are the answers to both the questions. No one's asking that. Okay? I don't believe you. Fans don't ask that stuff. That's what you would want a fan to ask to create this promo. But no one in reality is asking this. You just wanted to give this information out. You wanted to acknowledge how hot WWE is, how hot your character is, but no fan's asking this. No fan asked this. Okay? So stop it. Don't lie to my face. But, because think about it. I mean, nobody is going to go to Punk and say, as a fan, man, why do you think your character's so hot right now? Give me a break. What fan would even think of that? The reason is fans already have their opinions formed as to why they like or don't like somebody. They're not there as investigative journalists, right? An investigative journalist may come in unknowing what the hell WWE is, but seeing CM Punk getting a lot of reaction week after week and say, hey, and you go up to him in an interview style as a non-wrestling fan, as an actual journalist, and say, why do you think your character's on such a hot streak? Sure, a journalist would ask that question. But no, not a fan. Fans do not ask that. That is not real. Okay. But, I mean, is Punk really on a hot streak, by the way? Is he really on a hot streak? What hot streak? And this is not me tearing down Punk. I'm just not understanding. It's very forced. We know WWE right now is in a good place. Ratings are higher. They sell out buildings more than they used to in the last 5 to 10 years. Yes, that's true. But they're not Attitude Era-esque ratings and numbers and dollar value merch and you know, I don't want to compare PLE buys. That's not fair in this day and age. But you get my point. Like, they're hot, but like, I don't know. I'll move on. I promise. Just weird. Felt very forced. All right. But I can guarantee you no one asked that question. Punk recalled the first thing in line being the woman in a wheelchair. He said the woman stood up and told him that she defeated cancer and added that Punk was a source of strength for her. And Punk noted that a couple of friends are also battling cancer. Now that I believe. That's a fan right there. How many Make-A-Wish are there? A lot. There's a lot of Make-A-Wish. And I don't know how many Punk's done. I don't pretend I know. I know he's done a good amount. From what I heard, I can look it up. I'm just too lazy. But that I believe. That's a fan. Fans do say that stuff. Yes. So Punk said he also met a female fan who flew 15 hours from Taiwan to meet him. He said there was another fan with a sign who said he came from Jordan just to meet him, and Punk said that means everything or something to him and everyone in the back. And Punk said it means a lot to him because he was gone for 10 years. Nah, I mean, sure, I'll believe that too. Yeah. He's basically pandering to us a little too much. But Punk said it's the fans who drive him. A CM Punk chant broke out. Punk held up a fan-made bracelet. Punk said it might be a Taylor Swift thing. Let's face it, I'm the Taylor Swift for men. Why? Okay. Pause. Hold the phone. All right. Punk, I have a lot of issues with your promo. And but I have issues from a fact-checking perspective here. And the pandering and thank you guys, it's you guys. Oh, really? If it's really us that drove you, then it wouldn't take you a decade to come back to WWE. And I know it's not just, he can't just decide to do it. People in WWE have to be agreeing to it. I get all that. But the fans wanted you back in WWE for like the last 10 years, and only last year at Survivor Series did you come back. And yes, you did UFC, but if we're the ones driving you and we're the ones chanting your name, and people did for 10 years, funny way of showing your appreciation back. Now, yes, you are back now and all is well, and that's fine. I bring this up to make sense of things and make things logical with things that we're told that are real. And this stuff, I believe, is real in a promo, okay? That's the difference than just a typical wrestling promo. Now, here's what I take issue with even more. You're the Taylor Swift for men? Okay. This analogy is a little bit ego-driven. Taylor Swift is probably the biggest music star in the world. One of the most recognizable faces in the world. I mean, she has hundreds of millions of social media followers. Punk does not have that. Okay? He's got tens of millions. Taylor Swift is an infinitely bigger star than CM Punk is. Infinite maybe is a stronger word. Is a much bigger star. That's a little more accurate. A much bigger star than CM Punk. So, look at the numbers. Look at the social media followers, which, yes, is a metric to measure how popular someone is. And it is. I know. I hate that. I hate to say it, but that is kind of the metric today, because there is some validity behind that. Is how many followers do you have? Because that matters. That's the number of people following your content and your platform, what you have to say and post. And Taylor Swift is head and shoulders above what CM Punk has. He's also not a musician. At all. So there's that. So this is a bit big-headed, to say the very least, that he's the Taylor Swift for men. Stop. Okay, Punk, you're not even close. All right? Not even close. And I do like CM Punk on a wrestling perspective. I agree with almost nothing he says in his personal life. Almost nothing. And all of his non-wrestling views I disagree with very strongly. But the CM Punk character, I generally do like. But he's not a Taylor Swift for me. I'm not a Swiftie for Punk. All right, Punk brought up Drew and how he's saying he hates him and wants nothing to do with him after beating him at SummerSlam. And Punk says he thinks McIntyre loves him. All right, this is a big love fest for Punk. I mean, now he says that McIntyre loves him. Yeah. And he knows that McIntyre is obsessed with him. And Punk said McIntyre wants to stay connected to him and wears the bracelet with his wife's name on it. And Punk asked the fans if they wanted to hear some news. Punk removed the strap from around his neck, and he said he spoke with Adam Pearce. And McIntyre and made McIntyre a bracelet. Punk said that unless McIntyre's chicken, that's an interesting elementary insult, they're going to have a strap match at the Bash in Berlin. He talked about what the match rules are. You have to touch all four corners. It's like a Texas bull rope match. All right, so he's going to try to take the bracelet back as well. McIntyre comes out, and he brought up Punk's challenge and asked if he started drinking. And McIntyre accepted the strap match challenge. And he couldn't wait a full week. So there was almost a brawl here. And Punk was trying to trade the strap for the bracelet. And McIntyre laughed and said no. And he said that Larry and April are safer and happier at home with him. All right, so it's a lot over this bracelet now, which apparently he cares about when he didn't. Now he does. We'll see. Kind of a weird segment. Certainly not the strongest segment with Punk and Drew that's ever been written or executed. But you can't have them all be winners. You can't have them all be home runs. So this is fine. It didn't do anything for me. Like, if this segment was totally removed from the rivalry, it wouldn't change how I feel or view this rivalry or their next upcoming match. Even though it's a strap match, it doesn't get me particularly excited more by watching last night. It was just and Punk was just off. I mean, Punk was not on his game. It was maybe partly his fault, partly the creative fault. But that's going to happen. That's going to happen. So I'm not sitting here ranting and raving that, oh my God, worst segment, Punk's a loser. No. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. It is what it is. I'm just going to write it off. It wasn't a particularly exciting segment for me. All right, Final Testament versus Kofi, Xavier, and Odyssey Jones. This ended in 8 minutes with Kingston, Xavier, and Odyssey getting the victory. And after the match, Woods was reserved while celebrating with his overzealous partners. Woods seems to be the guy to be the heel turn here, but I think Kofi would be much better suited for it. I mean, even though the thing is, the person that turns is the one they're trying to make into a star. So perhaps Woods would be the better candidate because I think Woods has untapped potential. Okay. Let's go to the next segment here. And Bronson Reed versus The Miz. And The Miz wasn't really sure if he wanted the match. But he's going through it with it anyway because of what happened to his friend R-Truth last week. And he wanted the no DQ stipulation, so he got it. And Bronson Reed beats The Miz in 18 minutes and 15 seconds. There was some chair shots in here, some garbage cans, a table spot, a kendo stick that got snapped, and Bronson Reed again beat The Miz with a tsunami. And after the match, Reed went up, but he was stopped in his tracks by the entrance of Braun Strowman. And they had a face-off. So Braun Strowman is now back to bullying the bullies and righting the wrongs of selected individuals. And by the way, Braun Strowman is the one who's picking fights with everybody. He's the one who is deciding to go after. Remember, he went after the Judgment Day for like 2 months straight, and now he's targeting Bronson Reed. And that's fine. You know, I don't mind that. I think Bronson Reed versus Braun Strowman, could it have been built longer? Maybe. I think Bronson Reed and Braun Strowman is a match that I think that people are interested in maybe a 1 or 2 off because of the size, and you're going to get a slower paced match, and that's fine. I don't need all matches being try to be 5-star matches with flip, flop, and fly. So this is an interesting match. It is. And you know what it also did? It didn't let people cheer for Bronson Reed on Monday night. Because Bronson Reed, with his maneuver, even Michael Cole brought it up, said that, people love to see Bronson Reed destroy his opponents. And you could hear it. Even for Seth Rollins, the beloved Seth Rollins, people were saying one more time. They did it for R-Truth too, for poor R-Truth. People love the destruction. Even though he's a heel character, it just feels like you're a part of something. It feels like you're watching something special. It's also believable because of how big of a guy he is, that it would, actually damage you and all that. So it was smart to not let the crowd have an opportunity to cheer for Bronson Reed if the goal is to make sure Bronson Reed's a heel. So, and it, again, kicks off a new feud with Braun Strowman and Bronson Reed. And, all right, so the next item here, we had Braun Breaker be interviewed, and he was asked about his future plans. He said he heard that a tournament is going to be held to determine his next challenger. Well, Triple H loves his tournaments, doesn't he? My God. Breaker said Adam Pearce wants to slow him down, and Breaker said it's not his fault. He's a badass and genetic freak, and that all the dogs are barking in every city he goes to. And then he warned the poor soul that wins is going to be speared into the ground, and he said he'll get the beating of a lifetime, and that will be my fault. So, all right. Braun Breaker, again, I think continues to evolve. I don't have an issue. I know there's a lot of criticism of Braun, a lot of pushback on Braun. I like what he's doing thus far. Is that me anointing him as a Hall of Famer? No. Long way to go. But right now, I think Braun Breaker's clicking. Dare I say. All right. We then have, that's a lot of Judgment Day stuff. We got Dominic Mysterio coming down, and we got Dom versus Priest. And this is a fun match as, let's see here. We got Rhea entering the ring, and when Dom entered, she blew him a kiss, and Damian entered the ring, and Rhea headbutted Dom, and then Priest hit him with a forearm, and Priest was jumped by the Judgment Day members while Morgan worked over Ripley on the broadcast table. Carlito hit a backstabber on Priest, and then the Judgment Day members forced Priest to watch while Morgan ran Ripley into the ring post and tossed her over the broadcast table. And Morgan ran Ripley's bad shoulder into the ring post. And in the ring, they were putting the boots to Priest. Balor hit him with a coup de grace, and Morgan pushed Ripley back inside the ring and hit her with Oblivion. And then Dom hit the top rope frog splash on Priest, and the new Judgment Day members posed with Balor standing in the middle of the ring. So we really didn't get a whole bunch of Dom versus Priest in this matchup here. That didn't really end up happening. It was more of just a segment to build the heat for the tag team match that's coming up at the event here in Bash in Berlin. Of course, Terror Twins, Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest versus Liv Morgan and Dominic Mysterio. That's all this. It was being used as a vehicle to promote that match, and I think it ultimately worked. It ultimately worked, and I am liking this pairing of Dom and Liv a lot. Really like their chemistry. Dominic is eventually going to get riptide. That they're telling us what the payoff's going to be because they've been teasing it with us. As I've said, the moment that Dom turned on Rhea, I said this is going to be one of the big payoffs. Is that Rhea's going to try to chase him, get her hands on him, maybe even have a match with him. But ultimately, it's going to be, can she hit Riptide on Dom? And maybe that is the final payoff between Rhea and Dom and his betrayal. Maybe that is the final payoff, is just a Riptide. I hope they're not actually building to a match, as I've said for weeks. I really, really hope so. Okay, and then, let's see here. We got the next matchup here of Alba Fire and Isla Dawn versus Io Sky and Kairi Sane versus Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark. And we now have a new group here with the whole Zoe Stark and Shayna Baszler and Sonya Deville. And what's her name? I'm sorry, it's really lame. I have to look this up. I got to see what it is. Oh, the Pure Fusion Collective. Even Michael Cole's like, oh, try saying that 10 times fast. Kind of like, yeah, this is not a great name. It's better than the Submission Sorority. Remember that? Wasn't that the Submission Sorority with Paige and a couple others? Which is linked to like it was like a porn site or something. But yeah, not quite that bad. But I don't know what the Pure Fusion Collective is. It sounds kind of like a 2000s emo band. Does it not? Or am I thinking like Collective Soul? Remember, maybe that's what my brain's going to back in the 2000s. And Fusion, or the Fuse. Anybody else watch the Fuse channel back in the day? Or was that just local? I don't know if it was local. Had a lot of emo music on it in the 2000s, especially like 2001 to 2008, 9, 2010. It was called Fuse. And it had all the emo songs on it. Like Ocean Avenue by Yellow Card and Newfound Glory and all them. Anyway, I'm going way off track, but my point is, this is not a good name. They need to, even if they want to just use the acronym, PFC. We're the PFC. I'd rather have PFC than we're the Pure Fusion Collective. What the hell does that mean? It's nice words, but why? It's a unique name. Why? Also, the Pure Fusion Collective is really 4 words. A group name should be two words max. Max. 2 wordy. And I don't understand what it means. Nobody does. However, the match here that they had for the women's tag team titles on a triple threat ended with the tag team champions retaining in 9.5 minutes. Alba Fire and Isla Dawn get the victory to retain. And was a match that most people didn't really get into. It was just kind of like the rest of the show. It was okay. And the women's tag titles continue to live around the waist of Isla Dawn and Alba Fire. And I think that's where it should remain. I really do. And it's fine the way it is right now. The women's tag team division, it's maintaining course. But this is why, guys, if you want evidence for why I've been against WWE creating more titles for women, it's not because I don't want the women to get more time. It's because they haven't proven to me that they can give them more time in order to set up the justification for a title. You don't introduce titles first. You introduce them after a division already exists and there's a need for it. You don't do it after it, right? So, anyway, let's move on. Let's go to, where do we go? Oh, Michael Cole and Pat McAfee. Pat McAfee saying goodbye for a little while as he goes back to his football season and covering college football and then the NFL and all the traveling he does for his highly successful show and all that. So he'll be back in January. They didn't really hide when Cole or what month or time he'll be back. They didn't give an exact date, but last year, I believe it was the Royal Rumble that we had Pat McAfee return. Usually after the NFL season concludes and close to concluding, as you're deep in the heart of the NFL playoffs at that point in January, and maybe the NFC and AFC championship conference games, and the Super Bowl is a couple weeks away, and so he'll probably return right at the Rumble as he did last year. Maybe not in the Rumble, but as a commentary piece with Michael Cole, which will be fine. Pat McAfee is very talented, albeit sometimes annoying, sometimes a little off base, but brings a very important energy to the show. And Cole and McAfee are genuinely friends. It's not a work at all. They genuinely are very close, and I'm sure Cole is truly going to miss him for the next few months. But he's not dying. He's just going away for a few months. But he'll be back in time for the Rumble, back in time for Netflix, back in time for John Cena's final year with the company. In-ring anyway. All right. Randy Orton, Ludwig Kaiser, as I said, we kind of already covered that, and it was a 14 and a half minutes with Orton getting the victory after an RKO. And again, predictable but fun outcome with the main event here. Gunther and Randy Orton brawl to end the show. So they cut out the show right in the middle of the brawl, which was interesting. They didn't wait. They didn't wait. They didn't wait till a segment had concluded. They just cut off the show in the middle of the brawl. I think that's by design, which is fine. It's more realistic than every show seemingly ends perfectly in time for the show to end. So that happens every once in a while. I'm cool with that for an element of realness. And again, to circle back to what I said at the beginning of the show, a couple things, which is one, how was Raw? I think it was good to okay. Didn't really do a ton for me. The crowd, I think, was really hot, so I give Fort Lauderdale credit. They were hot even when they didn't have to be. And Punk, again, as I said, was too pandering. Not a great promo. Not his best work. Not Drew's best work. And it's fine. Gonna happen. No problem. Move on. We'll throw it away and try again next week. For me, anyway. I know some of you may have loved it and felt it was great and this and that. I think it was too pandering. Wasn't he even wearing a Jade Cargill shirt? I don't know why. Like, why would you not want to wear your own merch? Who's he pandering to? Or is he just that good friends with Jade? I'm pretty sure it said Jade for Jade Cargill. I think. But I could be wrong. So, anyway. For those of you that want to say I complain too much, you got a whole bunch of clips that you can splice and go back to and get heated over that I complain too much. I certainly gave you content this time, but it's how I feel. It was an okay show, and you're going to get some criticism for it. If you're looking for a fluffy show that loves everything WWE does and this and that, and, oh my God, what a great story. No, you're not going to get that here, right? You never do, never will. It's going to be what it is, and when it's great, and I tell you, and I'd be as honest as I can with you guys. So, all right, well, before we close out the show, I want to give you an opportunity to find me on a new platform for a new podcast. This one's going nowhere, okay? I actually did consider, for a moment, going full-time into, dropping this show. I'm not doing it, but there was that fleeting moment where I said, oh, man, if I'm going to dedicate time, but this show is going nowhere, okay? It's going absolutely nowhere. We're going to continue to pump out content for you guys. I'm even on vacation, and I'm still doing this for you with my family. It's 10:30 at night. My family's in the house sleeping. I'm sitting in a car doing this, okay? That's dedication right there, and I'm completely exhausted. But my point is, the show's going nowhere. The content for this show is going nowhere. In fact, I'm trying to add more stuff for patrons. That's actually going to be something I am dedicated to doing over the next several months, is more content for patrons because you guys are the ones supporting the show. Now, what's my new show? So the name of the show, if you want to look it up, it should be everywhere now. It should be. It's called The War on Truth. The War on Truth. And you can read the description of the show. It's not going to be a secret of where I land on certain things. And here's what I will say. I would appreciate a follow on that or a listen. I did record it in my car the other night, my first episode. So I don't think it's my best work, but it's the best I could pump out. And I wanted to get going on the show. So it'll improve in quality, not just sound quality, but content quality over this coming weeks. I'm probably going to do that once a week. Okay. It's not going to be a long show usually just because of my constraint on time. What I would appreciate though is that those of you who disagree with me, whatever the case, and I'm fine for disagreement and civil discourse and discussion, but I don't want it on my wrestling podcast. I've done it myself, no doubt. I'm guilty of it. But that's why I created this new platform. So please don't email me stuff on my mailbag show about this, at least in terms of questions that you have non-wrestling related with this stuff, politics and stuff. Keep it to the other podcast. The email, there is an email from other podcasts if you want to do that. It's warontruth@yahoo.com. All right. So you can email me there. Let me just confirm it's not the War on Truth. If it's War on Truth or the War on Truth, let me check this out, because I know they're going to screw it up if I don't make sure I know exactly which one it is. So it is. It's just warontruth@yahoo.com. All right. So you can hit me up there for politics and really other stuff I wouldn't mind answering to get the show off the ground and give you guys an opportunity to listen. It's one episode right now, and it is focused on, of course, things that I feel passionately about. All right, and I hope that you continue to follow the show, even if you violently disagree with me on everything I say. I just hope that it inspires discussion. I think that's really what's kind of lost today. People just demonize the other side. We've been taught to feel so deeply about politics that it has destroyed our personal lives and personal relationships with others that are on the opposite side of any particular issue or all the issues. Where in years past, not too long ago, you could disagree with people, and it wouldn't be that big of a deal other than just when you talk about it, but then you could turn off that switch and go about your normal lives, family and friends. Most people, not everybody. But, sometimes you have those disagreements with family members at the dinner table on Christmas or Thanksgiving. For those people that have family members that are into politics, you may not have, similar viewpoints and all that. But I would just like, if anybody's going to sit there and go, oh my God, I've been supporting this guy the whole time. Can we just take a step back and have some perspective and some humanity for the other side? Have some I like discussion. I like passionate discussion. That doesn't mean you're going to convince me. Doesn't mean I'm going to convince you. That's not the point. The point is to see the viewpoint from the other person's side. And even if you see that viewpoint, it doesn't mean you have to agree with it. It's just to see it. And hopefully it's something that becomes entertaining for you, and we improve over the weeks and months to come. But I'm a big proponent of discussing and not just shouting labels and, oh, you're this, you're that, you're a this, you're a that. We all know the words. All that's just useless. Doesn't do anything. It's childish. And it just shows your, intellectual cowardice. When people don't want to debate and they just throw labels and elementary insults, it's just like, again, I don't care what side of the aisle you fall on. Right, left, doesn't matter to me. If you're throwing those insults, you've already lost the debate. You've lost what the whole purpose of it is, and that's to hopefully engage in discussion. So, just like we do here, just like we do with wrestling. I know some of you really hate my content. Even though you still listen, you really hate it. You still listen. But I know some of you love it. I feel like I'm very polarizing. If I was to take a piece of an ego that CM Punk had on Raw, I would say I'm the John Cena of podcasting. I'm that polarizing figure. Not that I'm saying I'm as big as John Cena, but that's kind of what Punk did, comparing himself to Taylor Swift. So I guess taking a page out of Punk's book, I'm the John Cena of podcasting. So, all right. I really don't truly believe that, no doubt. I mean, we're really not that big, but we're growing. So, all right. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Again, check us out on Twitter, wrestling_audio. Check us out on everywhere that you can find a podcast, or consider supporting us at wrestling_audio. I'm sorry, patreon.com/WWE podcast. Wrestling_audio is Twitter or X, and Apple Podcasts or Spotify. All of those offer ad-free experiences as well. 1 week for free on both Apple and Patreon if you want to try us before you buy us and get everything ad-free after that. But check us out on the other side of non-wrestling talk at The War on Truth. We should be available everywhere that podcasts are. If not, we'll get there. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. Take care, and I'll talk to you next time.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.